Hiker sees glowing tree in forest. When he realizes what's going on, he is shocked. Daniel had always been an avid hiker and the forest was his favorite place to explore. He loved the way the sunlight filtered through the trees, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. The sounds of birds chirping and leaves rustling in the wind always made him feel at peace. But tonight's hike was different. As he made his way through the winding paths, he noticed something strange in the distance. A faint ethereal light was glowing in the distance, and it seemed to be growing brighter with each passing moment. Daniel quickened his pace, his heart beating faster with every step. As he drew closer, he could see that the light was coming from a tree up ahead. He had never seen anything like it before. The tree was glowing with an otherworldly light, and it seemed to be calling out to him. He felt a shiver run down his spine as he realized that this was no ordinary hike. There was something strange happening in the forest tonight, and he was right in the middle of it. As he got closer to the tree, he could feel a sense of unease growing within him. The glowing was getting brighter, and he could hear a faint whisper coming from the tree. It sounded like it was calling out his name. He stopped in his tracks, unsure of what to do. He had never heard of anything like this before. Was he imagining things? Was this some sort of trick? Hey there, Viral Videos here. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell. We post the most beautiful, amazing and scary videos every single day. Let's proceed with the video. As he stood there frozen in place, the whisper grew louder. It was definitely calling out his name. He could hear it more clearly now, and it sounded urgent, almost desperate. Daniel took a deep breath and approached the tree. The glowing was now so bright that it was almost blinding. He shielded his eyes and leaned in closer, trying to see what was causing it. And that's when he saw it. The trunk of the tree was glowing with an eerie light, and it seemed to be pulsing with a life force of its own. He had never seen anything like it before. But as he looked closer, he could see that something was wrong. The tree's roots were slowly being consumed by a strange disease, and the glowing was a desperate attempt to attract help. He stood there rooted to the spot, unsure of what to do next. He had never seen a sick tree before, let alone one that was calling out to him for help. He knew he had to do something, but he didn't know where to start. What would happen next? Would he be able to save the tree? Daniel's mind was racing with questions, but he knew he had to act fast. As Daniel approached the glowing tree, he felt a sense of both awe and unease. He had never seen anything like this before, and he knew that there was something special about this tree. But as he got closer, he heard a faint whisper coming from the tree, calling out his name. He moved closer, straining to hear what the tree was saying. The whisper grew louder, and he could make out individual words. Daniel, it said, help me. He could hardly believe his ears. The tree was speaking to him, and it was asking for his help. As he got even closer, he could see that the tree's trunk was pulsing with an ethereal light. It seemed to be alive, almost like a living creature, and as he leaned in closer, he could see that the tree was sick. Its roots were being consumed by a strange disease, and the glowing was a desperate attempt to attract help. Daniel's mind raced as he tried to figure out what to do. He had never seen a sick tree before, let alone one that was speaking to him, but he knew he had to do something to help. He reached out tentatively and touched the trunk of the tree. It was warm to the touch, and he could feel a pulse of energy flowing through it. He closed his eyes and focused, trying to sense what was happening. And that's when he realized the truth. The glowing from the tree was because the tree and roots were sick. The tree was slowly dying, and it was calling out to him for help. He opened his eyes and looked around. The forest was silent except for the faint whisper coming from the tree. He knew he had to act fast if he wanted to save the tree. But how? He didn't know anything about curing sick trees. He needed help. As he stood there unsure of what to do next, he noticed a small note lying at the base of the tree. It read, seek the tree whisperer, she will know what to do. He felt a surge of hope. Maybe there was someone who could help him save the tree, but who was the tree whisperer, and where could he find her? He felt a sense of urgency growing within him. He knew he had to find the tree whisperer if he wanted to save the tree, but time was running out. The glowing from the tree was growing fainter, and he knew he had to act fast. What would happen next? Would he be able to find the tree whisperer in time, and would she be able to help him save the tree? Daniel felt a sense of determination growing within him. He knew he had to save the tree no matter what it took. Daniel had been searching for the tree whisperer for days. He had traveled through dense forests and across winding streams, but he was no closer to finding her. As he wandered through the forest, he came across a small clearing. In the center of the clearing was a small cabin surrounded by a beautiful garden. The garden was filled with strange and exotic plants that he had never seen before. As he approached the cabin, he saw an old woman sitting outside tending to the plants. She wore a long flowing robe and her hair was gray and tangled. "Excuse me," he said, "are you the tree whisperer?" The old woman looked up at him and he could see a glimmer of recognition in her eyes. "I am," she said. "What brings you here?" Daniel explained about the glowing tree and the note he had found. The old woman listened intently, nodding her head as he spoke. "I think I can help you," she said at last, "but you must follow me." Daniel explained about the glowing tree and the note he had found. The old woman listened intently, nodding her head as he spoke. "I think I can help you," she said at last, "but you must follow me." She led him into the cabin and down a long winding staircase. They emerged into a dark underground chamber filled with strange herbs and potions. "This is where I do my work," she said. "I can sense the sickness in the tree, but I will need your help to cure it." Daniel was eager to do whatever he could to help. He watched as the old woman mixed together strange concoctions, muttering incantations under her breath. Finally she turned to him and said, "We must go back to the tree. You must help me apply the cure." They emerged from the cabin and made their way back to the glowing tree. As they approached, Daniel could see that the glowing was now almost gone. The tree was almost dead. But the old woman didn't seem to be worried. She pulled out a small jar of ointment and began applying it to the base of the tree. As she worked, she explained to Daniel about the sickness that had befallen the tree. It was a rare disease that had only been seen once before in the forest, and it was almost always fatal, but she had developed a cure and she was confident that it would work. As she finished applying the ointment, they both stepped back to watch. At first there was no change. The tree remained still and the glowing grew even fainter. But then slowly the pulsing light began to grow stronger. The tree began to shudder and then it began to grow. It grew and grew until it was taller than any tree Daniel had ever seen. Daniel was speechless. He had never seen anything like this before. The tree was alive and it was thriving. But as he looked closer, he could see that there was something different about the tree. It was almost as if it was glowing from within, pulsing with a new vibrant energy. The old woman smiled at him. "The cure worked," she said. "The tree will now live on, stronger and healthier than ever before." Daniel felt a sense of relief wash over him. He had done it. He had saved the tree. But as he looked back at the old woman, he realized that there was something strange about her, something he couldn't quite put his finger on. Who was this woman and what was her connection to the forest? Daniel knew he had to find out. He had to know the truth. Daniel spent the next few days trying to find the old woman again. He searched the forest, but she was nowhere to be found. Just as he was about to give up, he heard a rustling in the bushes. He turned to see the old woman emerging from the foliage. "I've been looking for you," she said. "I have something to show you." She led him to a clearing deep in the forest where a group of people had gathered. They were all wearing robes similar to the old woman's and they were tending to a group of trees that were glowing with the same pulsing light that the sick tree had exhibited. "These are my followers," the old woman explained. "We are the guardians of the forest. We have been here for generations, protecting and nurturing the trees." Daniel was stunned. He had never heard of anything like this before, but as he looked around at the people, he could see that they were all united in their love for the forest and its inhabitants. The old woman stepped forward and addressed the group. "We have a new member among us," she said, gesturing to Daniel. "He has helped us to save one of our own. Let us welcome him into our community." The group erupted into cheers and applause, and Daniel felt a sense of belonging that he had never experienced before. Over the next few months, Daniel spent his time with the tree whisperer and her followers. He learned the ways of the forest and he became one of them. But then one day the old woman approached him with a grave expression on her face. "There is trouble in the forest," she said. "A group of developers has come and they want to clear-cut this entire area. We must stop them." Daniel felt a sense of dread wash over him. He knew how important this forest was and he knew that it must be protected at all costs. He rallied the group together and they set out to confront the developers. It was a dangerous mission, but they were determined to protect the forest that they loved. In the end, they were successful. The developers backed down and the forest was saved. As they gathered around the glowing trees, Daniel felt a sense of pride and belonging. He knew that he had found his true purpose in life and he would do whatever it takes to protect the forest and its inhabitants. And so the old woman smiled at him, knowing that he was now one of them. Together they would continue to protect the forest for generations to come. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you for watching. See you next time.